Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And we've got another combination out here today that should give us some pretty decent results, I'm thinking anyway. I think it's just going to depend on what the shell can do more so than the setup, because we know it's a pretty decent setup. But as for that shell we've got out here today, I brought out some more of the Verdict 410 ammo. These are a 3-inch 7/8 ounce of 9.5 TSS shot, moving about 1,065 feet per second. And these shells did give us a pretty decent starting performance anyway. I wouldn't call it the best 410 pattern we've gotten from this setup, but they did okay with the Carlson's 385 that we shot them through the last time. But they appeared to want a little bit more choke, which would make a little bit of sense because they are 9.5s, which are a little bit smaller shot size. So with today's setup, I'm thinking we should see a little bit better pattern out of it even. And speaking of today's setup, I brought out the Mossberg 500 410 turkey here with this choke. This is the stock extra full turkey choke that the gun came with, and I did measure it out to be right at a 380 constriction, so definitely starting to lean a little bit towards the tighter side for 410 chokes, which with 9.5s like these Verdict shells are, I'm thinking this little bit tighter choke is probably going to work out pretty decently with them. And we know this stock choke has given us good patterns in the past, so I'm thinking these two should play nicely together today. Or at least that's the hope anyway, I guess. So as for today's setup, everything is the same as usual. I have the turkey target set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph so we can get our speed. So let's get you guys set up with a view of the target. We'll take our shot, look at our chrono, and then go down and see how they actually performed. Again, I have some decently high hopes for this combination being a little bit tighter of a choke, but I think it's going to come down to what are the Verdict shells capable of. Either way, let's go over here and shoot it and see what we can get out of this combination. Okay, so that shell gave us 1,069 through our chrono. The box claims 1065, so yeah, we're 4 feet per second above their claim, so we're right where we should be. So the velocity looks pretty much perfect up here for what they're claiming, but how did it actually pattern down there at 40 yards through this stock 380 extra full? Let's go down and take a look. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, we were just a touch off to the right, I'd say, and I even had to get the paint marker out, because this target just decided it didn't want to flake off when the pellets actually hit it. So I guess I'm going to have to find some other targets, because these Birchwood Caseys kind of suck. Either way, what we see here is a pretty interesting looking pattern. Now this area right over here in our core that's, say, I don't know, 16 inches wide or so, that's a beautiful looking pattern right in there. Now as we look at the rest, we clearly have some flyers all around the edges, which doesn't completely surprise me with that being a stock choke and a little bit on the tighter side of a choke at that. It doesn't surprise me that we see some of those flyers, but we see a pretty decent amount of them. But for that core area there, I mean, there's no voids within a good spread there that are even really noticeable at all. I mean, maybe one little one right in there, but other than that, that whole circular core area of our main pattern there looks really good. And it gives you a pretty good amount of leeway as well. Now, in this specific shot, we do clearly have a dead bird. There's 4 or 5 through the brain there and 1 or 2 more down the spine. So that shows that it does give you leeway as well if you're not perfectly on them. Either way, I would definitely say this is an improvement over our first pattern with the Carlson's 385. Like I kind of suspected, 9.5 shot being a little bit smaller is probably going to prefer a little bit tighter of a choke. And I'd say that's pretty much what happened here. Now, this is a pattern that I would not be scared to go out and hunt with. Now, of course, I would prefer to have a lot less of these flyers around the edge. So you do have to be a little bit cautious, I guess, if you're running this setup and have another bird close to him. But for that core area right there, that is beyond good enough to take a bird out to 40 yards. No doubt about it. Now the question is, if we go the other direction with less choke, what are we going to see? Is it just a case of those not being the best performers with the Carlson 385 specifically, and they'll like some more open chokes? I don't know. Maybe that's something we should test. But at the end of the day here, I'm pretty happy with this pattern overall. I just wish you didn't see quite as many flyers, but it's not totally unexpected either. But it would absolutely crush a bird out to 40 yards, no doubt about it. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and as you can see, it opened up pretty good. These 3 petals over here are all pretty well even. This one might be kicked over just a little bit farther than the rest, but definitely nothing I'm concerned about. There's no pinholes or rips or tears or anything in here. No shot stuck down in there or anything, so it looks pretty good, all things considered. Definitely, I'd say it did what it was supposed to do, and nothing that I'm worried about or concerned about on this one. Looks pretty good overall. Alright, y'all. Well, what do you think about that pattern? That 16-inch or so core circular area there, that is beyond good enough to take a bird out to 40 yards with a 410. 9.5 shot, you have a bunch of extra pellets in there, even over something like a 9. But we do see some flyers around the outside edges, which I would prefer not to see, but considering the setup again, it's not really totally unexpected either, I guess. But at the end of the day, that's absolutely a turkey hunting pattern out to 40 yards. So I think it's just another case of, well, what do you prefer? Does that core area look good enough to you where you're okay with having a few of those flyers? Or would you prefer a little bit tighter or a little bit more even pattern overall? Leave your thoughts in the comments about it. Is that about what you expected to see? Or were you hoping for a little bit better or expecting worse? And would you hunt with a pattern like that? It's absolutely a good enough turkey hunting pattern. There's no doubt about that. So leave your thoughts about it in the comments. But at the end of the day, I definitely think these Verdict 9.5s prefer the tighter chokes, just based off the testing we've done already. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to film for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.